I've never been as happy as right now, but shit, I gotta cope with the fact that it dies down. Cause in the end, I just wake up salty, start my day with a pot of black coffee.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed that new intro. I was wanting to play around with the idea of one. I think I like this one. Stay tuned at the end for the new outro as well. Anyway, on to the video. Archazia's Island. Archazia? Archazia? Regardless of pronunciation, the next set for Disney Lorcana is coming out very soon, next Friday at the time of filming this video, and by the time it's done, it's probably already out at your friendly local game store and on its way to big box retailers very soon. This set looks to be a leap for the game as a whole, with the introduction of Dual Link cards and the new Illusion archetype. With this video, I will be showing off 5 decks that I think will be interesting and fun to play for beginners, experienced players, and everyone in between. These will have a variety of playstyles, and while not covering each of the game's 6 ink colors, I hope you'll find a deck to try for your playgroup, and maybe even build into a list for your store's championship. Just a disclaimer before we get started, these deck lists are just examples. While I pride myself on being a fairly skilled deck builder, formats change. Sometimes you'll just have to change cards to adapt with what you'll be seeing other players play. But I've tried my best to include suggestions for other good cards that can be used for these decks. Think of them as like pre-con decks, a good structure to build upon. You can find links to all these lists in the description below. Anyway, on to the list. While not part of the list proper, I'd like to give an honorable mention to a deck that I and members of my local playgroup rather enjoy, Racers. Introduced in Shimmering Skies, these characters from Wreck-It Ralph have a fun home as a gimmicky win condition deck around moving to locations. While I personally originally envisioned it as a Ruby Sapphire deck to utilize Turbo's shift ability for King Candy, the draw engine does not make up for the amazing Amber cards that we got to see this set and the following set, Azurite Sea. Amber also gives access to a way of accelerating your racers onto the track, or, well, in this case, the board. With this new set, Ravensburger has made it clear that this is the way to go with the deck, with new cards like the Dual Ink King Candy, Fix-It Felix, and Calhoun to keep your racers on the track and pushing your opponent's characters off.
Get off my plane.
But this is a deck I'd rather save for a future video, not as a like goal, but I'd like to play this deck myself and maybe even play in some tournaments, so stay tuned for more. Now, let's look at the 5 decks for Archazia's Island. This will come as a shock to absolutely no one who knows me, but I absolutely love Pete. So when I heard he was getting more cards in this set, I knew I would have to include a list featuring him in this video, so I decided to follow his continued pirate motif this set, creating the Pete Pirates.
Do what you want, cause a pirate is free. You are a pirate.
The goal of this deck is to take control of the board state very quickly by getting pirates out as quickly as possible. These new pirates have synergies with having a lot of action cards in play, whether that be removal, recursion, or even untapping your other pirates. This works well with the new Floodborn Pete, giving these pirates resist and preventing your opponent from tapping their characters to sing songs, which puts some strategies to a screeching halt. This deck also utilizes items like Prince John's Mirror to keep your opponent's hand low and use Pacha to gain lore. There are also many good locations that you can use to help protect your pirates, but can also gain lore for the actions you are playing regardless. So what are the pros of this deck? The biggest thing that this deck has going for it is that it's super budget, cheaper than even a Trove. On top of this, the deck can take fast control of the board with its good ink curve. However, this list can run into issues if you can't get well into your draw engine to establish the board and can have problems with aggro Amber decks, as well as any deck with removal. My recommendations for some possible upgrades would be including more copies of Pete, namely Games Referee to go more the control route, and Wrestling Champ to try and cheat out the other Petes faster. Alternatively, Hades Double Dealer can help with cheating out the Petes that you want. As for helping deal with character-heavy decks, cards like Grab Your Sword and Avalanche can help handle these decks, as well as your John Silver when you play actions. All in all, this deck has a lot of potential that can be built around in many ways to control the players in your pod. Another deck that I've had my eyes on since its reveal was the new Queen of Hearts. This new Floodborn has the incredibly strong ability to place damage counters on any characters that come into play.
Rise and shine, bitch! We're going to Disneyland!
Combine this with the new King of Hearts and cards like Robin Hood, Sneaky Sleuth, and Pack Tactics, you can run rampant to gain a lot of lore in a very short amount of time. Additionally, Timely Contestant Robin Hood will benefit a lot from cheap casting costs and protection from challenges with the new King. Not to mention the amazing combo of the Return of Hercules to have everyone play a free character, then remove opposing characters with Wake Up Alice. Much like the previous deck, this can be very budget for anyone wanting to play a very aggressive control deck with some flexibility at its win condition. Even the additions of the older versions of the Queen of Hearts, Strike a Good Match, or Hypnotic Deduction, the deck will be very affordable. This deck does have its share of downsides, however, like targeted removal towards the Queen, just putting it out of commission, along with its slightly wonkier ink ramp. However, this deck is nothing to scoff at for a newer player or someone wanting a more simplistic take on control that can still pack a punch. Illusions are a very interesting addition to the game. All the currently revealed ones share the keyword Vanish, banishing themselves when targeted by an opponent's action. That may seem bad without combining it with other cards that give them ward. However, the new Amethyst Steel Dual Link Jafar is great, allowing them to return to the hand after being banished on opponent's turns. This can allow you to consistently gain 2 lore every turn with the Giant Cobra, as well as Hades' effect of gaining lore when a character is banished.
Bubba, name is Hades, Lord of the Dead. Hi, how you doing?
And you will never have a shortage of draw actions to keep this going. You can also use items like the Lamp and Amethyst Chromicon to help with that draw engine. Aside from that, I think the deck has enough flexibility that a newcomer can modify the deck to fit their playstyle. An example would be any good 1-drop characters that allow you to draw more cards so you can see your whole deck as quickly as possible. However, this deck does suffer that the new Jafar is not a Floodborn. It can take a bit longer to get running. Additionally, cards like A Whole New World can be really devastating if you lose access to your Cobras and potentially your whole win condition. Editor's note, there is a precon that is releasing with a lot of these cards, with Jafar as the cover card, so this list will likely be cheaper than listed above. Sometimes it's just a lot more fun to hit other characters really hard, and if that's something that you feel, then this deck is right up your alley. Mushu finally making his Lorcana debut is a really good support for Ruby and Steel strategies that are built around Thieves and the Snuggly Duckling, locations around challenging and banishing characters to gain lore. This combines well with a card that I personally think is a little overlooked doing to be a structure deck card, Kronk, Head of Security.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
Kronk allows us to play characters like Mushu for completely free, allowing us to stack up his effects with the locations and saving ink for different actions that you may need. Other characters can also assist well at this. While a bit pricier per copy, Calhoun from Archazia has Thebes and Resist 1 built into her. Having her on Thebes and Mushu in play allows each character being banished to be worth 6 lore. Aside from the usual downfalls of aggro, like removal killing the momentum, especially if Kronk is taken out before shifting, this deck does struggle at times with ramping if you can't get Kronk out on turn 5. Despite that, this has many ways to reach its win condition and can maintain its board pretty well once it gets its feet wet. Characters with Rush can be pretty useful, but also characters like Mulan, Imperial General, who enable you to attack untapped characters, preventing your opponent from denying lore from your challenges. This also can work pretty well with Piglet if you're really aggressive. And with all the older cards roughly costing the price of a AAA video game, this deck may be the most viable that I've shown off today, other than the last deck we'll be talking about today. For the last deck that I think could be interesting for Archazia's Island, revolves around a card that I've been seeing a lot of people talk about, Ink Geyser. This 3-cost uninkable action keeps sending the game back to a turn 3 state by making players shuffle their inkwell back into their hand. Combine this with Prince John's Mirror and your opponent will have to make a few tough choices with discards. This also works well with the Oswald item engine, allowing you to spam out items fast from the top of your deck like Lucky Dime or a Fishbone Quill, to then get your ink back for Tamatoa to shine his lore to victory. God, please cut that line out, that was awful.
What do I owe you? Nothing. It's for free. Free!
This deck will likely be the most successful due to Blue's consistent ink and draw power with cards like Chicha and Sail the Azurite Sea, but also from cards like Prince John Goldlover to get back any discarded or banished items. And you don't even have to worry about putting cards into your inkwell since there's a good chance Ink Geyser will just put them back in your hand. But there still are a few downsides with the deck, mainly its lack of built-in action recursion. Maybe a Donald or a Stitch or two could help out here. But it's just an expensive deck with all the legendaries that are required for the wheels of this deck to start turning. But it can have some interesting variations, like one where you're trying to get out the Sheriff of Nottingham or very clever Fairy Tinkerbell to keep your items close in your inkwell, but your win condition even closer. God, who writes these? Oh, I write these. Cut the feed. And there you have it. What do you think? Any of these decks strike your fancy? Did you see any glaring missed opportunities or a deck I didn't mention? Let me know in the comments below, and since you made it this far, toss me a like and a subscription for more content like this about Lorcana, Pokemon, other card games, just whatever I feel like. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you all next time.